All right, Mark, did you hear the big news? Lots of sales coming in Vegas. Mirage is now up for sale. Caesars is selling a property. Let's dive right into it. November 3rd, Bill Hornbuckle, the CEO of MGM Resorts, released a letter. Now, there had been rumors from Vital Vegas and a couple other places over the last week or 10 days that this was heating up, but MGM, probably in response to Caesars, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, said that they are going to sell the Mirage. They're in the early stages of selling Mirage or the operations of Mirage. As a reminder, MGM Resorts doesn't actually own the land anymore. MGM Growth Properties owns the land, and MGM Growth Properties is separately being bought by Vici Properties, the spinoff that owns all the Caesars property. It's just so complicated. It doesn't matter. So it's the operations of the Mirage. This is what he said. Today, we are announcing that after careful consideration, we have made the decision to sell the operations of the Mirage to another operator, a move that we believe is best for the long-term success of both the property and MGM Resorts. The Mirage is a world-class, iconic property with unique attractions that is ripe for continued investment and development. It will be the crown jewel in another operator's portfolio. So basically not the crown jewel in theirs anymore. I like the Mirage a lot. What do you think about this?
First off, Hornbuckle is an amazing name, so I want to give props to that. His parents must have made some really cool buckle, or his great great grandparents made some cool buckles out of horns back in the day. I don't know, but I like it. Yeah, the letter was kind of surprising because they didn't come out like a Caesars where they're like, "Hey, we want to sell a property." It's like, by the way, I know you work at Mirage. We appreciate all you've done. It's getting sold. So that's pretty forceful words. They must have, I would imagine, something in the works already, or they've already had some agreements like handshake type of things in place. I don't think you'd come out with a letter worded that strongly unless you had something already somewhat lined up. That's just kind of my take on it, but it makes sense for them to sell it. It's kind of on the outskirts of their property lines of what they own, and it doesn't really mesh with them trying to be more higher end with Cosmo and stuff like that. So yeah, I could see it, and I know we disagree on who's going to buy it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to win this one.
All right. Well, we'll get into that in just a second. But, Mirage sits on the end, kind of disconnected from the rest of their properties. And they recently are buying the operations of Cosmo, which is right in the middle of their properties. So this could almost be seen as them, getting rid of one, getting another. All right. So I know who you think is going to buy it. But I think, I think it could be a number of things. But tell us your theory on who you think is going to buy Mirage.
I think it's going to be Phil Ruffin. He's got Treasure Island. Maybe he can get the tram working, connect them again, kind of like they were back in the old day. It makes a lot of sense. Circus too. They're all kind of like near each other, and it just would fit very well with what he already has. So that's kind of which way I'm leaning. Does it make too much sense? But I don't know. It just seems right.
The one thing that I'm sort of hesitant with this is that it's just the operations of the casino, not the land. Ruffin, obviously, his other properties, he owns both. Maybe that's not a huge deal in this new world where everything's getting decoupled, but that's maybe a concern. And that's probably a reason. Another operator that's been talked about is Hard Rock International. I think Hard Rock would be a great fit for Mirage. Their properties, like in Florida, have amazing pools. There's a lot of land there that they could do stuff with. But again, does Hard Rock want to have the land, want to control the land as well? Maybe. But there's other operators that could be coming in. What about like your friend Derek Stevens down in downtown with Circa? There's other regional operators. Penn National sold Tropicana recently to Bally's. Maybe they want to get back into the Strip. Maybe Bally's wants to expand their presence. They've been buying a ton of properties all over the country. So there's a lot of options here on who could buy this. But I mean, Phil Ruffin and Treasure Island. Now, the tram has been working again. They did get it back up and running. Those properties have been linked forever. Treasure Island, a lot of people don't know this, opened as Treasure Island at the Mirage. Originally, it was designed to be an expansion of the Mirage. Then they made it its own property, but they still tied them together very closely. So those properties would be, they would feel right being back at home with each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like Paris and Bally's. I know they're a lot closer, but how they kind of, it almost feels like an extension of it or an extra tower or, a Venetian and Palazzo, like that type of synergy. It would work out really well. So that'd be kind of cool. It's good that the tram's up and running, so maybe it doesn't really matter, but it would be kind of good to have like where you could stay at either property and bounce back and forth, and and all that stuff, and they were in the same network gaming loyalty program and all that stuff. So that's my hope, at least. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Now, Mirage itself is fairly modern. They've done a lot of renovations to the casino. I had a room there maybe a month or two ago. The rooms are a little challenged. I think the rooms themselves are good, probably a little dated, but they have that tropical vibe, which works for me. The bathrooms are of that late 80s era where they just built these tiny bathrooms. And I don't know how you overcome that if you want to be
Room
a
size is
high-end property.
important. Sean
Yeah.
loves his room
Well,
size.
but I will say I like the rooms there aren't particularly big, but I like the rooms. So I think the rooms are great. I wouldn't not book there because of the bathroom, but I know that's a big issue for some. And the bathrooms are incredibly small there, very, very tight. So that is a big drawback there. But it is a nice property, a lot of land there. You have obviously the dolphin experience, the secret garden in the back. So will the new owner keep all of that going, or is that potential room for another tower? There are other opportunities that may present themselves here with this property, but it is a big moment when Mirage, basically the first mega resort to usher in this modern era, is going to change hands. It was owned by Mirage Resorts, which got taken over by MGM. So it's always stayed in that sort of family. So this is the first time it's going out of that. Excited to see what happens. Can't wait for Hard Rock to come to the Strip. Just kidding, Mark. I know I don't want to trigger you there.
I've been thinking Circus South does have a good ring to it. So there we go. Let's do that.
Now, Grandpa D on Twitter made a good point. He said, Phil Ruffin, if he was to do it, to your point, he could sell off the festival grounds on the corner of Sahara, maybe some of the Circus Manor motel areas and things like that, make that a property for another developer to build another casino, and then use some of that money to buy Mirage. So there's definitely a lot of options here. We don't know.
People would kind of miss motels by Circus, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, the Manor, I do have to stay there one of these days, or at least get a room there. Right? I don't know if I actually want to sleep in the Manor.
Just get a room.
I will say a lot of people don't know the Manor at Circus, or I guess Circus. I think all the rooms could use it, but there's a water park there now with water slides, and I'm not sure if it's exclusive just to the RV park and the Manor, or if the big tower is going to use it. But yeah, there's some cool stuff there at Circus. But let's talk about the other big news, and that is the fact that Caesars has said that they are going to sell a property in early 2022 as well. They didn't give us the benefit of knowing what property it is, although we can probably narrow it down to a couple. What do you think? Which properties do you think that they are going to sell, or property do you think they're going to sell in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been talking about Planet Hollywood, so that'll be top of the list for sure. Although I think that would be a mistake. I think that's one of their better properties, top 2 or 3. So Bally's kind of makes the most sense to me from one perspective. They've had a lot of their restaurants pulled out. It's kind of empty. It's kind of like set up for somebody to come in and do their own thing. The only weird thing is it's so connected to Paris. I don't know if somebody would want that. And it's a smaller plot of land, as you've said in the past. So there's not a lot of room for improvement there. But I don't know. I don't know what else. Maybe my famously loved Cromwell. That's probably too small for anybody to care.
Yeah, I don't think Caesar's going to sell Cromwell because it's so small, but also because it's right on that corner. And why would you want to give up control of that corner when you have Flamingo sitting right behind it and everything else? I agree with you. I think it has to be either Bally's or Planet Hollywood. Now, Caesars owns both the land and the operations of both those casinos. So whoever buys it will get that. A lot of people think that Paris and Bally's operate under one gaming license because they did when they opened, but they're separate properties now. So that's not really an issue if they do decide to sell one of them. There is one big issue with Bally's besides the small plot of land, is that it shares a parking garage with Paris, and the entrance is in Paris. So you have to walk through that connector. There is some surface parking, so you could overcome that in certain ways. I think Planet Hollywood is the most likely candidate here. Kind of like Mirage, it sits on the edge of Caesars properties, on the very south edge, and it's probably a much more valuable property than Bally's. Although the one thing that kind of throws me for the loop is that restaurant situation. Why are they kicking out these restaurants, allowing these restaurants to stay closed at Bally's if they're not really, planning to get rid of it? But also, why didn't Bally's buy Bally's if it was for sale? Why did they buy Tropicana? Yeah. This is such a weird world we live in these days with these sales.
Yeah, Bally's would just make too much sense for Vegas, so they had to go elsewhere. I don't know. I mean, if I could pick one that I would want them to sell, it'd be Harris because I hate it. But just get rid of it. Nobody likes it. Oh, I'm sure people do like it. Old timers, I guess. I don't know. I've never liked it. And the
Yeah.
casino, the rooms, nothing. The pool is like a Holiday Inn pool. It's just
Well,
terrible. Just
it was a
knock it down.
Holiday Inn, right? I mean, it was famously a Holiday Inn. So you don't like purple? Is that what it is? You just hate
Yeah,
the color
I mean,
purple?
the carnival area is cool. Besides that, yeah, bulldoze it. Let's go,
They
move
just
on.
spent a bunch of money renovating it and renovating all the rooms. So I don't, based on what I've heard, think it's going to be that. But I mean, the thing is that they need money, right? That's why they want to do it. They need to clear up their balance sheet. Tom Reeg, their CEO, said we would expect to sell a single property and be done, but we will assess where we are in the market, what our balance sheet looks like afterwards, and how we feel about our future prospects. But I think we'll be limited to one asset. So probably just one asset. Of course, they already sold Rio a while back. Yeah, I mean, Planet Hollywood would be my guess. Although I think Bally's is probably equally as likely given the restaurant situation there. But who are the players? Who do you think is going to come in? Is it the same? Is it Hard Rock? Maybe some of the tribes out of Southern California or other gaming tribes that own casinos elsewhere in the country. I mean, we've talked about diversification, so this is good. I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for Hard Rock just because the vibe of the place and kind of what they have set up, the color scheme, all that. It feels very Hard Rocky. They have rock playing, dancing girls, all that stuff, like fun atmosphere. But Hard Rock, as we've seen, likes to have these elaborate pool areas like they do in the Hollywood, Florida area, and kind of like the big guitar tower, all this cool stuff. And I don't know, that pool area's on a rooftop. There's not much you can do with it. They even have, what's interesting is they have the timeshare property behind it, which actually has a better pool area than actual Planet Hollywood does. So does that play into it? Do you not want that attached with the mall and all that stuff? So
Yeah.
I don't know if Hard Rock will. I feel like Hard Rock either needs to get back into Virgin or build their own thing. But it'll be interesting to see if somebody new comes in. Hopefully, it's somebody from that we aren't even expecting, like off out of this world, like from California, something, whatever, that just comes out of nowhere and buys it up.
Yeah, I think more likely, and now Jim Allen did say at G2E that they're not buying Planet Hollywood. So I would assume that if it is Planet Hollywood, it's not Hard Rock. I also assume that they wouldn't want Bally's. The one thing about Hard Rock is they have these really beautiful flagship properties in Florida, but they also have a ton of regional casinos that aren't particularly, they're not bad, right? But they're not particularly like high end or crazy good. So I can see Bally's fitting in that way, but this is going to be their flagship presence on the strip if they do it. I still think they want to build something new and maybe consolidating some of those properties like the one on Harmon we talked about, or perhaps the festival grounds, other things elsewhere. I want a guitar tower on the strip. That's what I want. I want to see a big giant guitar tower. It's a really cool thing. So yeah, I don't know. There's challenges either way, but to your point, good to have more operators coming in. Good to have more diversity. I think investors are seeing that having just for the companies, for MGM and Caesars, owning so much property so close together doesn't provide the synergy that they think it does. It ends up, cannibalizing their own business. And I think that's why you're seeing some of this sort of offloading of stuff. Although MGM on the same point, they just doubled down by getting Cosmos. So who knows? But the landscape of Vegas is changing. Any other final thoughts? I know you're really dying to see them take Hard Rock to take over Virgin. I know that's really what
Yes,
your dream is.
bring it back. Dig back out the pool. You put fake grass down. Dig that out. Let's make it cool again.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about all of this. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash the thumbs up button, and let us know who you think is going to buy Mirage, what property Caesars is going to sell, and who you want to buy them. We'll talk to you guys in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
See you next week or tomorrow. Video tomorrow too.